A month ago, Special Counsel Jack Smith's team acknowledged that some evidence in the prosecution of former President Donald Trump for hoarding classified documents in his Florida home may not be in the same sequence that FBI agents found it. The concession from prosecutors came after attorneys for one of Trump's co-defendants asked for a delay in the case because the defense attorneys were having trouble determining precisely where particular documents had come from in the 33 boxes the FBI seized almost 2 years ago.
Prosecutors aren't supposed to tamper with evidence, and it looks like that's what he did. He changed the sequence of the documents that he seized from Mar-a-Lago.
I'm sorry, that's a false characterization, but that is ongoing.
Here's what he said to the court, Mr. Attorney General. There are some boxes where the order of items within the box is not the same as in the associated scans. I mean, he said it. I didn't say it. He told the court that.
Now you're asking me to comment on a discovery dispute that's ongoing in a court. I don't know the facts of it, and I'm not going to comment on it.
No, this is from Jack Smith filing with the court. He admitted to the court that they tampered with the evidence. He mishandled the very documents he's charging President Trump with mishandling. And I'm just asking, do you regret picking this guy as the special counsel in the most important special counsel investigation probably in American history?
I'm sorry, I did not hear the words tamper in the statement that Mr. Smith filed. He did not use those words.
Well, let me ask it this way. Are you supposed to change the order of the documents that you seize and the physical documents don't match up with the scanned documents? Are you supposed to do that as a prosecutor?
This is a matter in dispute, in discovery in that court, and I'm going to leave it for the district court to make a determination. After
I would just say one last thing. It's not in dispute. This is what he said in the court filing. Jack Smith's team said that to the judge in the court. By the way, this case is now basically on hold because they've screwed up so many things.
In their filing, prosecutors acknowledged the government had previously and incorrectly told the U.S. Judge Eileen Cannon that the boxes remained in their original intact form as seized, other than a decision to replace classified documents with placeholder sheets. So now basically it sounds like all 33 boxes have been completely shuffled around and have pieces of paper added as placeholders. Prosecutors wrote, there are some boxes where the order of items within the box is not the same as the associated scans. The government acknowledged that this is inconsistent with what government counsel previously understood and represented in court. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals ultimately halted the review that Cannon ordered. That's the judge. Prosecutors also said the act of moving the boxes might have actually caused an apparent shift because of the size and shape of certain items. But they did not say if that could account for all the instances where documents appear to be out of the original order. Which sounds ridiculous. This isn't a magician with a deck of cards. This is simply moving a box from one place to another. And I can tell you out of my own experience of moving files, I've never had pieces of paper jump from one file to the next file or out of order because I just moved a box around. And it doesn't matter, in my opinion, if some pieces of paper are smaller or bigger. And the fact is, in a case that's important as this is, people should be able to properly handle the box without shaking it around, without turning it upside down. You know, you pick up a box and you put it in a truck and then you drive. It's not that hard, and there's no reason for pieces of paper to be shifting around the way that they're being claimed they have been, which, in my opinion, this is complete tampering of evidence, and all that evidence has to be thrown out of court. And that's why I believe that Judge Eileen Cannon has actually suspended this case indefinitely. Take a look at how they make up special exemptions for the people that they like while going after Donald Trump with a completely unprecedented attack.
And what they're trying to get at is this Presidential Records Act argument, which is ultimately the Clinton sock drawer case, right? I mean, Bill Clinton had personal recordings in his sock drawer. A court determined that they were his personal records. It didn't matter if they were classified, it didn't matter anything, because Bill Clinton had determined after his presidency they were his personal records. Donald Trump has done the same thing. He said these documents are my personal records. If you read the Presidential Records Act, Brian, it says all documents. It doesn't carve out defense intelligence information. It doesn't carve out classified marked information. It says all records are presidential, and then it has a process. And that's what Judge Cannon is trying to get to the bottom of, and that's what Jack Smith, to your point, is really objecting to.
And what he said, Jack Smith, is not a single person had heard Trump say that he was designating records as personal, or at the time he caused the transfer of boxes to Mar-a-Lago. He believed that his removal of records amounted to designating them as personal under the PRA, President Records Act.
Today, Merrick Garland sat in front of Congress and got grilled by Jim Jordan and a few others, and this is what he had to say.
Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fani Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. I get that.
State.
The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
You make a request. We'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory, that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now, you were a judge, once nominated to the highest court in our country. When you were a judge, I'm just curious, did you ever make political donations to partisan candidates?
No.
No, and you didn't because that would create the potential appearance of impropriety.
I didn't because there's a federal rule barring federal judges from making contributions.
Right, but under that same theory of attacks on the judicial process, like, shouldn't someone be owed like a jury of their peers and a judge that's non-biased rather than getting a judge from your political opponent's donor file?
I'm well aware that you're not asking a hypothetical. You're asking me to comment on a jury verdict in another jurisdiction which has to be respected. I won't comment on it. That case is still ongoing. The defendant
Mr. Attorney General, I hadn't asked you about the verdict yet. We were getting there. I was talking about the judge. And so let me ask you this question about your time as a judge. Was there ever a time when you were a judge when you had a family member who was personally profiting off of the notoriety of a case that was before your court?
I'm going to say again, it's very clear you're asking me to comment on a case in another jurisdiction.
No, wait, hold on, Mr. Attorney General. Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
yes or no?
You're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're connecting the dots, Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo
false.
Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the...
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I can tell you I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together, and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we on the Judiciary Committee think about attacks on the judicial process, our concern is that the facts and the law aren't being followed. A target is acquired, here, Trump, and then you assemble the legal talent from DOJ, Mr. Pomerantz, and you bring everybody in to get him. And meanwhile, the judge is making money on it. The judge is making money on it, or the judge's family is making money on it for stuff that you yourself wouldn't do. You know, no one's going to buy this. No one's going to believe it. It's going to create great disruption. And I am saddened by it because, like you, I have given my life to the law. I care deeply about the law. And I think that the lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time in public service. I see my time's expired. I yield back.
I hope y'all enjoyed this one. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.